Hello there, and welcome back to part two of my academic journey. Now, if you watched part one, then you know that we really went through my journey from elementary school through high school with my dad. And now, for part two, we're going to jump into college years, so undergrad, grad school, and also where I currently am within my doctoral journey. Now, you will see me looking down because I have plenty of notes. Jump scare. I have plenty of notes on my phone so I don't forget anything, but really, let's get into it. Okay, as I mentioned in part one, I applied to like 5 or 6 colleges for undergrad, really concentrating on schools within my area. As I mentioned, I'm from Virginia, so I kind of wanted to stay in state, not only for the price point, but also for the close proximity to home. So I ended up choosing Virginia Commonwealth University, also known as VCU. And there I went in as a biology major on the pre-pharmacy track. As I mentioned before, I was really interested in pharmacy at the time and thought that I wanted to pursue pharmacy long term as a career path. So let's get into freshman year. Freshman year overall was pretty smooth sailing. I did struggle a little bit in the intro biology and chemistry classes. So once again, I really sought out a lot of tutors and extra help either before class or even just scheduling appointments with the tutoring sessions or the tutoring department. I forget what they were called, but we had a tutoring department and they were really helpful. You could schedule them like around your classes, and you can even schedule reoccurring sessions with the same tutor. So that was really helpful for me, I think, for freshman and sophomore year, really getting through some of those science classes. So freshman year, I also went in taking pre-calculus and then your regular English requirements as well. I had really great roommates. I actually roomed with an old friend from middle school, and then we had 2 other roommates in kind of like a quad based room or dorm situation, which was really nice. And so I was a little bit involved in extracurriculars in college, but not really too much. I was very focused on schoolwork, going to my sessions, tutoring sessions, and really just spending time with friends. So I wasn't too involved as I was in high school. So, first year, still on the pharmacy track, taking the usual courses. Sophomore year is when things got a little bit interesting. So, sophomore year, me and my roommates all wanted to room together again, but because of the university's high population and not many dorms that were available at the time, we were trying to room together. So, we applied for a program known as the Aspire program so that we could live together sophomore and junior year. And so when we applied for this program, we kind of knew what it entailed, but not really to its full extent. So what did it entail? It was a living and learning community. So meaning that all the students in the program live together and they also take the same courses, as well as they have to complete 100 hours of volunteer service within the Richmond community. Now, it may sound like a lot, but it really wasn't. A lot of people that I knew, a lot of students in the program actually surpassed the 100 hours, because once you kind of get in there and get in the groove, you really become to enjoy the program and enjoy the volunteering that you're doing. And so that's was also my experience. So during the program, we took courses that were centered around community engagement. Now, I was not too familiar of courses like those that introduce various theories around like community engagement, almost like sociology a little bit. But I also took sociology courses and psychology courses as well. But this program really was designed to introduce the importance of community involvement and engagement to students very early on. So through the program is how I actually discovered what public health is, and it was actually by accident. I was volunteering quite a bit in various areas, from the food pantries to like the community garden, and I even secured a volunteer position with a community-based clinic shadowing one of their pharmacy students. Now this was a great experience. I went almost every week and I was able to really shadow the pharmacy student at the time. However, I learned that this experience or this work environment for pharmacy was a little bit rare, as opposed to traditional retail pharmacies or even hospital pharmacies. And so I really like the idea of medication management, as this is what the pharmacist did routinely. So just as you would, your doctor would come visit you in your room during your doctor's appointment, the pharmacist would also come in after and review with you all of your medications that you're taking, answer any questions or any concerns that you may have, and then go on to the next patient. And I loved it. I thought it was a great concept, especially for that clinic that served mainly Spanish speakers and mainly minority populations that were uninsured. However, after really gaining some advice and just talking to more pharmacists, I learned that that was not the norm, that those types of programs and those type of clinics, although they are very impactful for communities, you don't see them all the time. They're not as common for a residency or for a long-term position for a pharmacist. And so that was kind of an eye opener for me. And then I later on went on to volunteer more within the program. Remember, this was sophomore and junior year, and eventually learned about a center known as the VCU Center on Health Disparities. So my sophomore year, I learned about this center after attending an alternative spring break program. Now, the center was attached, or really a subset of the medical school, the Medical College of Virginia at the time, and they were on that campus. So I was really busing from main campus to the medical school campus almost daily, or at least 3 times a week, going over to volunteer there. Now I want to take a step back to some of my coursework. So sophomore year, things got a little more interesting. I was taking organic chemistry. And that is kind of where I drew the line at my chemistry. I definitely struggled in that class, went to all the tutoring sessions. I even had a friend, and we were kind of just in there together trying to make it work. She was pre-med, so she had to continue going. But as pre-pharmacy at the time, I was considering and really looking at what are my other options here. I really enjoyed the health sciences and the health field, but maybe this is not right for me. And so in combination with those courses from the Aspire program and some of my volunteer experience, I began to look at what does a career in public health or just community health really look like. Now, my school did not have an undergrad major in public health. So it was then around the end of sophomore year, like second semester, gearing towards summertime, is when I was like, I need to somehow figure this out and make this work for me. I was not interested in transferring schools because I was having a great college experience, but I knew that I can make some tweaks here and there to really make my degree worthwhile for my future. So that's when I transitioned or changed my major from biology to interdisciplinary science, or general science. Is a very general degree, and I already had a lot of the requirements as I previously had taken the bios and the chems and all of that. I just needed some extra science courses, and as my electives throughout freshman, I would say majority of sophomore year, I was taking a lot of psychology courses. So after intro to psych, which I actually tested out of, now that I remember. I tested out of intro to psych because I had taken AP psychology in high school. But I went on to take like stress management, abnormal psychology, life course perspectives, health psychology, and I just really enjoyed those classes, so I continued to take them. So much so that I was definitely able to get a minor, and then my junior year, I decided to do a dual major. So majoring in interdisciplinary science as well as psychology. Junior year, I was still in the Aspire program, and now I have changed my major. So changed my majors from 1 to 2. So I still had to do all of like the end of the program capstone requirements senior year, and I did some of those during junior year as well, because I was technically majoring in 2 programs or 2 kind of departments. So balancing that was interesting, but it really was worthwhile because I knew that I was making my own public health degree really fit for me and my needs. So junior year, once I decided to get rid of those biologies and those chemistries, I was really focusing on a lot of psych courses and a lot of statistic courses as well. So we did not really have biostats or anything or epidemiology for undergrads, but we did have various applied statistics courses that I also took that I'm very grateful for now because as I mentioned in my past video, I believe I've taken now probably like 5 different stats courses, and stats is stats, if you know. So they kind of just build upon each other and you just learn different methods for doing some of the same analyses or whatever it may be. So I enjoyed those courses as well. Junior year is also when I began working as an undergraduate research assistant. And so I will probably talk more about all of my graduate and undergrad research positions in another video because there have been a lot. But this is when public health was actually solidified for me. So as I mentioned before, the VCU Center on Health Disparities, they actually had a NIH funded grant around preterm birth prevention that was really in the midst of all of their work of the center. And so I began to volunteer with them through a lot of their community events, health fairs, and just various things out in the community. So not only was I able to get that experience, I was also able to learn a lot more about the Richmond community and not just be a typical bystander student, but also become really involved in my community. So as I became more involved, I also became involved in their research. So there was a research side to it, and also like a community engaged involvement side. And so I kind of wanted to just soak up everything like a sponge. And so I really got the best of both worlds to be able to include myself and really just involve myself in both of those realms. And so as an undergraduate research assistant during the summer, because I stayed the summer of my sophomore year into my junior year, I also was able to apply for a program known as the IMSD program. I don't remember the acronym or what it stands for off the top of my head right now, but look it up and put it in a comment or somewhere in this video. But the IMSD program was intentional for minority students who had interest in various STEM fields to get research experience as an undergraduate student. And so because I was already working with the VCU Center on Health Disparities, I was able to just kind of match up with them and have this program fund my work with them. So I was able to get paid as an undergraduate research assistant. And that's why to this day, I'm so passionate about paying students for their time and investing in students very early on, because who knows what the future may hold and who knows what seeds you're planting early on. Now, senior year, I was still working as a research assistant, and I was having a lot more conversations with some of my mentors at the Center on Health Disparities. Now, these were Black women that had backgrounds in public health, MPHs, and DRPHs as well. And so they really opened my eyes to what about a master's degree next? You know, what do you think about going to grad school next? And so that's what I did. I started applying my senior year to various master's programs. I applied to 4. And was admitted into all 4 of them, but I ended up choosing Emory University, the Rollins School of Public Health. So now I'm gonna go into a little bit more about my master's journey. As I mentioned before, similar to my undergrad experience, I also had a lot of research positions that I believe are a part of my professional experience thus far. And so I'll probably do another video going into those, but I really want to talk about a lot of the coursework of the master's program. So my master's was great. I will say that Emory, although it is a PWI, my concentration or my department was very diverse. There were a lot of Black women, and we kind of created a lot of networks to really help us to succeed by just collaborating with each other and staying in contact. I also need to mention that this was a full-time master's program in person. And so I went to campus every day. I moved to Atlanta, of course, from Virginia, and then I went to campus every day. Even if I didn't have class, I was just on campus doing work, talking to folks, networking, and just really creating relationships that have really lasted a long time. So the courses at Emory, I would say, definitely have prepared me very well for my career in public health thus far. So I took courses including but not limited to program evaluation, research methods, research analysis, qualitative and quantitative. The qualitative being, just qualitative research methods and analysis, and the quantitative being epidemiology and biostatistics. I also took courses around global health, environmental health, health policy management, and then I wrapped up the 2 year degree with we could do a capstone or a thesis. And for capstone, there were a couple of various tracks, and I did the grant writing track. So I actually ended my program writing a grant, writing a fictitious grant for a program. And so overall, I loved Rollins. I recommend it to anyone who's interested, in public health or a master's program. I know it's one of the top right now in the country, but I had a great experience overall. And as I mentioned, I'm going to go into all of my work study experiences because I worked at various places in Atlanta as a result of being an Emory student, because that was included in my financial aid package that I was awarded, work study assistance, as well as my jobs outside of Emory that I was able to gain through various connections and networking with some of the nonprofit and local community-based organizations. Last but not least, let's move on to my doctoral journey. So I graduated from Emory in 2020. Yes, during COVID. No, we did not have a graduation. It was a very interesting time. But I then went on to work for a couple years within the nonprofit space in Atlanta. And now, jumping a little bit forward, in 2023 is when I started my doctoral journey. And so I really came across the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health kind of by accident. Of course, I knew about Hopkins. They're a huge name in public health, especially the Bloomberg School. But I was not even that interested in a doctoral degree. But I was at a very interesting transitional space in my life. In 2023, I was preparing to move to Texas. I was also preparing to leave my nonprofit job and start consulting full time. Now, all these things kind of happened around the same time, very interestingly, but I applied at the end of 2022 and was admitted for the incoming summer 2023 cohort. So I only applied to one school, and you may be thinking that that's a little crazy, and it is, thinking of the odds of acceptance, but I really only wanted to go to one school, and that was because of the concentration. Now, the women's reproductive health concentration is fairly new. I am the second cohort to be admitted, and so they started in 2022. I'm 2023 cohort, and although it wasn't new, it really spoke to me. The courses that were listed, the faculty, and just the reputation, of course, of Johns Hopkins really spoke to me. And so I only applied to one, and I really said, if this is meant to be, it's meant to be. And obviously it was. And so currently I am in year 2. I just finished up my second term, so I'm starting term 3 in January, and I'm having a great time so far. Definitely follow along as I do more updates regarding my journey. It is very different because it is part-time and it's also fully virtual. So I never have to go to Baltimore to attend classes unless I choose to. And I also am able to really have a flexible schedule with my courses when I do my coursework, when I watch lectures, all of the above, because it is part-time. It's also a little bit of more of an extended doctoral journey. And so I think I'll finish in about 5 years if all goes well, cross fingers. But you have, I believe, maybe 7 or more years to actually complete your degree, because they are aware that most people are working full time and have competing responsibilities in addition to being a doctoral student. So that's a bit about my academic journey, really focusing on undergrad, my master's program, and now my doctoral journey. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have in the comments below. And maybe I'll do another part diving in to those work experiences that I mentioned before, because I've worked a lot of various places, and I really believe that your experiences working within the public health career field will also help to shape, just like your journey overall. So stay tuned for that.